through which you can connect with me. Yeah. So today's topic for presentation is a QA perspective in testing versus XP versus XM clouds. So let me deep dive into it. So first of all, why this topic? So as we all know that Sitecore is evolving towards the cloud native and headless architecture. So in XP, there used to be a MVC or normal .NET applications were there. But here the environment is architecture is totally different. So my further slide will give you more detail on that. But this is one point. Second is about many companies are migrating from XP to XM cloud because of this 5 reasons. First is simplified infrastructure, like do not have hosting or scaling management required. Automatic updates. So as and when Sitecore delivers something, it will be directly update into the Sitecore system. Do not require any manual upgrades there. Third is efficiency. That is pay as you go to model. So whatever you want, you just need to pay for that. Rest you can ignore. Fourth is headless flexibility. So it is API first delivery model where you can use the most of the part it is GraphQL and having less REST API is used. And the fifth is faster time to market. So you can use the pre-built templates and DevOps automation as per your need. And why and what is the implication on QA based on this all parameters which I have mentioned? So to considering that QA need to rethink for shaping that test strategy with Sitecore's cloud native and composable architecture. So that is the main goal of this presentation. So we'll go deep dive into each slide and you'll get to know this. So this is the things which I am going to cover in this presentation. First is the quick comparison in XP versus XM Cloud, implication on QA areas, similarities and differences in CMS and UI testing in XP versus XM Cloud. Similarly, for similarities and differences in personalization testing, differences in automation strategy and testing in XP versus XM, differences in non-functional testing in XP versus XM, implication of testing in a composable architecture, test data management in XP versus XM, risk area and the common pitfalls of XM Cloud. What are the tools which I'm going to use in XP and XM, and what are the QA takeaways at the end of session? I'll brief you of what are the takeaway for this session. And at the last, we'll have a question and answer session if we have. So yeah. So this is the common difference between XP and XM. Like as you can see on the left side, you will see the features. On the right side, the comparison of XP and XM Cloud. So on the left side, you can see hosting is on premises and here it is cloud native or SaaS. Architecture is monolithic in XP and in XM Cloud, this is composable. Personalization, which was in XP, was on platform. And here in XM Cloud, it is via CDP, personalized, real time. This is provided by the XM Cloud itself. Technology, we can use MVC, SXA, and headless. And in XM Cloud, it is purely headless, Next.js and React-based solutions. APIs, here it is REST in XP and limited GraphQL, while in XM Cloud, it is strongly GraphQL. And in the content editing perspective, we were in XP, we were using Experience Editor, and in XM, we are using Page Builder, or it is renamed as Page or Page Builder. So the intention of having this showing the difference is that these are the parameters which are fully or partially touches to the QA part of the application. So if I take the simple example of the last point, say content editing. So it has like Experience Editor as a part of CMS testing in XP. In XM Cloud is a page builder. So if you add the component in any of the page, you add the component in any of the page in XM Cloud versus XP, this is totally different. So those are kind of things I'll be demonstrating in further slides with more details. There are other differences apart from these differences, but whatever the things which are implied on QA, which I have covered here, There are even more detail level differences are there. So I'm not going into that detail of it right now. So yeah, hope I'm making sense here. I'm going
Yeah.
impact on QA areas. Okay, Khushbu, anything?
No, no, you can continue.
Okay, okay. Impact on QA key areas. So these are the main thing which are going to be touched because of XP versus XM. So first is functional testing. In that, I will be covering CMS and UI testing. In non-functional testing, performance and security testing. There are other non-performance testing, but in that testing, I have not found much differences. So I'm not going to cover in detail for those. Personalization, automation testing, rendering architecture, content authoring tools, and the overall testing tools. So these are the things which are going to be impacted by this shift from Sitecore technology. Types of testing affecting the application. So if I want to divide the entire testing into two parts, which is one is say functional testing, second one is non-functional testing. So in functional testing, I have divided into two parts, front end and back end. So there is no uh, any standard derivation of having the specific testing in as per the industry standard, but this is just I did for sake of understanding for everyone who has joined this session. So if I want to say front end testing, which in front end testing I'm going to cover the UI testing only, and in back end testing I'll be covering the CMS integration, system testing, smoke and sanity testing, and regression testing. And for non-functional, we'll be covering performance testing, which includes load, stress, and spike, security testing, compatibility testing, accessibility, and usability. So these are kind of the standard. This 75 and 25% division is this standard is actually based on the current information available on the website, but the division which I have made for other testing is not as per the standard. So just for understanding, I have make it for the everyone's reference. So let me go deep dive into the part of it. So these are the things like common verification in CMS testing in XP versus XM Cloud. So these things like component rendering validation. Here we are ensuring that the components added render or appears on the page perfectly as per the requirement. So this is common thing. These all are common things which we used to do in XP and XM. These are common. So component rendering validations, content management. So content creation, editing, versioning, approval. This also remains same. Language and localization, multilingual content rendering, fallback validation, region specific content checks, media library and assets. So uploading videos or images, cropping, you add the alternate text formats, media link renderings. These are common. Field level validation. So if you have one component, you have added some fields like rich text, date, drop downs, checkbox. This validation of this field remains same. Editing and authoring experience. Just the tool is changing. Like in XP we have experience editor, but in pages we have page editor. Otherwise the functionality and the intention remains the same. Workflow and publishing, the taste content publishing and workflow states. You can validate the schedule publishing and versioning. This also remains same here. SEO and metadata fields like metadata title, description, canonicals, and open graph text. So these are the fields remain same for XP versus XM. Now moving to the difference, which is in CMS testing. So first is content DB. So in XP we used to have WebDB, and in XM Cloud we have EdgeDB. So this is the main difference. So second is about the caching mechanism. In XP we used to have HTML cache, data cache, item cache, and that is configured as per the CMRCD instance which we have configured. We used to have server level Sitecore cache in XP, and in what are the tools we are using is Sitecore Cache Viewer, which is admin/cache.aspx, or you can build your own custom cache clearing tool as well. While in XM Cloud, we have edge caching, which is a kind of a client cache and GraphQL cache happening at XM Cloud level. Uh, Tools which we are using here are Vercel, edge functions, and cache control headers. So these are anyway impacting the testing terminology. If I am on the browsers opening any websites, something is not appearing on my page, what I have to do, I have to rather create the cache. So if I used to use the XP application, I used to have this type of cache which I have mentioned. And if I have using the XM Cloud, it have edge caches or maybe the GraphQL caches. So this is not 100% touching to the application which we are building, but this is some way touching to the testing part of our whole application. Okay. The third point is about editing the editing interface. So in XP, we used to have experience editor, and in XM Cloud, we have page or page editor. This is a legacy page interface where you can add the components, while XM Cloud has page editor, which has modern SaaS native tool, which combining the editing, layout, personalization, and the version control in one UI. While in XP, it is single use. In XM Cloud, this is multi-concurrent and multi-author edits. So as a tester, if you are working, three testers are working on the same website, you can edit the content similar on the same time. So it has the clean and drag and drop canvas where you can see the global toolbar, site tree or component list, and the content configuration panels in the page editor view. In terms of XP, like we are in the experience editor, we are receiving minor or new enhancement because of XM Cloud has kind of replaced the things. So people are moving from XP to XM. So we are receiving minor or new enhancement. But while in case of XM Cloud, it supports, we are receiving new updates as well as it supports online auto savings, undo, redo, and immediate draft publishing. So as and when you change anything in the database, it will definitely, it is like on real time, it is saving. While in case of experience editor, you need to deliberately click on save button and then information got saved. So kind of a training and learning issues here. So if you have used XP versus XM, you just need to mold yourself based on your need for based on your application which you are using. So yeah. There are other differences like preview localized content. So in case of XP, we used to use experience editor to preview and test the content per language. But in case of XM Cloud, use a language drop down to switch between preview and any available language version. So this is kind of UI stuff in page editor. Error handling. So errors often shows in experience editor UI in XP, but in case of XM Cloud, that those errors can be displayed in front end or console logs. So you need to be little bit technical, go into the like need to press F12 key, go into dev tools and then verify whether which error happening. This is not 100% happening case here, but sometimes it is happening. So that is the reason I have mentioned in a difference. Publishing testing. So in case of XP, it is rendering immediately once you publish something and it appears on the website. In case of manual publish or schedule publish as well. But in XM Cloud, it takes time to reflect on the website because of the CDN layer and the caching happening as edge level as well. So I had experience on couple of projects in the past when you publish the local or the global settings from your setting node, it takes I think 1 to 2 minutes to reflect on the website. But if you publish the normal component or component fields, it I think immediately appears on the website on even in case of XP and XM. So you need to think about those kind of scenarios when because once you do publish on a website and your content is not being shown into website, you will directly reach to the content the developer that this is not working in my case. But you have to wait. You have to wait for maybe 1 or 2 minutes, and then I think you need to confirm from the your end, and then do some research on or rather do some digging on experience editor part or other page editor part, and then I think raise with the team. So Yeah, moving to next point, which is multilingual testing. In case of XP, setup workflows are manual and require some more configuration, while in case of XM Cloud, streamlined, which is very streamlined, automated, and provides the built-in fallback, powerful automation, and easily translatable management. And the second one is related to multilingual testing, which is fallback, language fallback. So that is also available in XP, that is configured manually and requires defining language fallbacks, rules for each site or items. And in case of XM Cloud, this is inbuilt. So it has their advanced fallback mechanism. Hence it minimize the untranslated content on the actual website. So if you forgot something, it will be automatically translated into the language which you have configured in the fallback mechanism. So these last two points are little bit touching to the development part of it, but these even touch to the content authors as well. So that is the reason I have mentioned in the difference as well. So, yeah. The next part is about the UI and functional testing similarities and differences. So if you check in the similarities, in that we have a responsive layout and design testing. So this is similar what we used to do in XP and XM, like the verification, application verification in desktop, tablet or mobile remains same, no change there. Alignment, styling, font consistencies, and many other more UI related part, this remains same. Functional UI checks, for example, clicking on buttons, forms, models, navigations to each of the nodes, we are testing the same way we used to do in XP versus XM. No changes there. And the third one is user interaction scenarios. Like for example, you are testing login functionality. Once you do the login, you can do some ordering. You verify the cart functionality, navigations. So these things remain same whether you are using XP or XM. But what are the differences here in terms of UI and functional, which is only one difference. The difference is in XP, the QA focus would be on only on browser-based DOM testing. So whatever mentioned in the UI, we used to test only those part. But in case of XM Cloud, the QA focus would be DOM, browser DOM, plus the API response time or response integration testing. So uh, that includes the UI as well as the backend. So as we all know that XM Cloud is runs through GraphQL plus API. So you need to have a little bit or some intermediate level knowledge as it runs through GraphQL and API. So you can easily relate those things. So whatever the things like, for example, you have banner component in that you have say 3 fields, title, description, and maybe CTA. So those things can be also available in GraphQL. You have to do the GraphQL query. You can update those content from GraphQL. You can verify the effect on actual website as well. Parallelly with your CMS as well. So you can edit the content from CMS plus your APIs. So this is the only difference. Otherwise, the UI and functional part remains same in XP versus XM Cloud. Any questions till now? I hope I am not going very fast. Okay, considering no. Now moving to the, so we have covered two part. First is the CMS and the UI part. If now we are moving to the personalization, which is a part of the site core. So these are the similarities of personalization testing. When you, so if I could see the audience which are kind of they have not used the personalization on in their current project activity. So I give you little bit knowledge on personalization testing. So what is personalization? Personalization means you can change your content based on your needs. For example, you are accessing the websites from US, you will see the X content. But if you are accessing the same website from US or other India, you can see the Y content. So based on your local or based on your geolocation, the content will change. So those kind of things can be achieved through personalization. So now I'll be deep diving into each points. First point is the page level personalization. So this remains same, show the different version of the page to different audience based on the predefined or configured rules. A/B and multivariate testing, create and test multiple page variants, audience segments, optimize user experience via A/B testing and the multivariate testing. Rule-based conditions, like you can define the rule conditions such as based on this location I could, which I have given the examples. So location, device or date, anything you can define in the conditions. Editor behaviors, like experience editor or page interface is used, but in both the cases you can define the personalization rule. Fallback testing, if any of the rule is not satisfied, you can see the default rule is being shown to the customers. So that is again same thing. Real-time personalization means the content is delivered to the customer should be real-time. Like it should not be, if your content is displayed to the customer after 5 minutes, there is no use of delivering the personalized content, because user will go away, because if he or she has not get the proper content. So it should be real time. Analytics integration for outcome validations. So to monitor and validate the effectiveness of the personalization strategies and decisions. So kind of a, I would say the analytics board or dashboard where you can see what are the personalization, how your personalization is behaving. So those kind of things remain same in XP versus XM Cloud. What are the differences in XP? So first thing is about user tracking. So in XP, we used to have XDB to track the users across the sessions. But while in case of XM Cloud, there is no such database like XDB. So personalization is either real time, or you can integrate your XM Cloud application with Sitecore CDP or personalize. So kind of you have to buy extra product to achieve the extra personalization, or if you want to do some detail or complex level personalization. Tools used. So in XP, we used to use experience editor or personalization within the XP itself. And in we use Sitecore Analytics, which has the experience profile, experience analytics. While in case of XM Cloud, we have Sitecore Pages, which has some limited out of box rules. But if you configure with Sitecore Personalize, you can achieve kind of complex to complex things via Sitecore Personalize for decisions model. Third one is A/B testing, in which it is performed with experience optimization built in with XP. And here you validates the variants and conversational goals. And in case of XM Cloud, you perform it with Sitecore Personalize or with CDP. More real-time and multivariant testing possible, which I already mentioned. And you can validate the A/B experiment setup, user distribution, and real result tracking. So as per I know that if you want to do a kind of complex personalization via XM Cloud, that is kind of I would say not 100% possible without Sitecore Personalize. But if you use Sitecore Personalize with XM Cloud, anything is possible. So yeah. Couple of more differences, like in personalization engine, which I already explained, which has XDB, experience profile and rules engine. For here, it is relies on a Sitecore Personalize or custom real-time rules, no built-in XDB. Content preview, personalization preview via experience editor, while in case of XM Cloud, you have to use pages, often with limited preview options unless you integrate with Sitecore Personalize. Personalization scope, in case of XP, it is multi-session. So you can track the historical and real-time user interactions, engagement score, and personas with the common ecosystem. While in case of XM Cloud, if you have only XM Cloud, that is in session, so you can use it uses the current visit site session data, but lacks of long-term visitor history because it does not have XDB. So do not have such data to do this kind of personalization. So in such cases, you need to use the Sitecore personalize to achieve the goals with, like you have to do the site level personalization, webs, and that personalization is also applicable for web application, normal mobile application, emails, even offline channels like pause, chaos. So where you can do the personalization. And the last point is about customization and rule. So in case of XP, it is extensive custom rule creation, highly flexible and condition for highly flexible condition for granular personalization. While in case of XM Cloud, those are non-extensible, limited to standard, very limited OOTB condition, and no custom rule building. So which I already mentioned that in XM Cloud it is has some limitations with limited methods available for OOTB, and for in such cases you need to use the Sitecore personalize to do the advanced rules and custom digital models with experiment. So these are the differences. So why I have covered with, because when as and when you test the personalization in XP versus XM, if you have XP, it has built-in personalized module, but if you do not have XM Cloud, so you need to deal with your current personalization rule which they have. Otherwise, you need to discuss, or rather, you need to maybe talk with your development in the how we can use the Sitecore personalize within the XM Cloud, and such thing can you can discuss with your team members and possibly go with the further steps. So yeah, moving next. Automation testing differences. So in case of automation testing, first thing which I have not covered is the similarities. So why? Because the in automation testing we used to automate the UI of the application. So we pick for example, we have one text box or rather one button. So we take the element of that UI and do the further operations on that element. So that UI can be automated with different ways. So in doing that automation, what are the things are different in terms of XP versus XM Cloud? So those things which I have mentioned here. So I have divided into two parts. One is architecture and rendering model, and second one is UI stability and the elements which we are using for automation. So first is rendering type. So as we all know that XP is server side render because it uses the MVC and web forms, and in XM it is headless and using modern JS framework and React and Next.js. So if you want to test the testability via Selenium and other tools, in case of XP, it is easier to automate traditional DOM locators due to static HTML rendering. While in case of XM Cloud, this is very dynamic. So requiring robust wait strategy and JS heavy automations. So if you have one element, uh, in XP, this has the higher stability in terms of automation, while in XM Cloud, which is dynamic. So you need to do the proper maintenance of your uh, web script which you have created for Selenium. Similarly, for in case of page load, in XP, it loads the entire page and easily synchronization is happening in the application. While in case of XM Cloud, it loads the partial page and it requires the explicit handling of waits and dynamic rendering as well as the XHR requests. So whatever the things which are, so in case of XM Cloud, you need to put some extra weight to load your elements. So until and unless the element is not loaded on your page, you cannot automate, or rather you automate, but the things will go into fail status because that element was not visible once you do the testing. So you need to do the more you need to wait because you have to wait until the page properly loads. In case of UI stability and elements, uh, element identifier, here we use static IDs or server generated predictable class names. In case of XM Cloud, it is auto generated via CSS class name. Example, Tailwind and emotions, which are fragile. So here in case of XP, it is static ID. So there are less chances of being changed. So here in case of XM Cloud, this is auto generated. So there could be a chance it can be renamed, and you need to change your automation script based on your requirement. Second point is about automation stability. It is higher in with a conventional locators. In case of XM Cloud, it is higher, but you have to requires use of data test ID as well as data QA attribute or area roles for reliable locators. So you need to put some extra condition to achieve the proper goal to access that element. So this is the difference in automation testing differences. So this is more towards to the automation testing, but the this requires some additional efforts in terms of XM Cloud application is concerned. Let's move to the performance testing differences. So till now I have covered the functional part of the application, UI, the CMS, UI, and the personalization testing. Now moving to the non-functional part of it. So in performance testing, the focus parameter in XPs are page load under the concurrent users, personalization logic, publishing latencies and impact on CD servers, SQL database latency, and the session analytics tracking. And in case of XM Cloud, what we have to focus is API latency because everything is driven to GraphQL and layout services. So API should be in picture. Edge caching and behavior. Edge caching behavior via CDN or Vercel. Static site generation versus SSR, which is server side rendering. And the fourth one is third party JS and asset optimization. So these are the parameters which are directly or indirectly affecting the performance of the application in case of XP versus XM. So this is the metrics which I have gathered where you can see the clear differences. Like if in case of these are the parameter which we used to observe in performance testing like TTFB, which is low due to the in XP it is low due to the dependent on server processing and load. And here in case of XP XM Cloud, it is faster due to CDN based edge rendering. So in case of FCP, which is first contentful paint, which is slower here in case of XP, and in XM Cloud, which is faster. In case of LCP, which is largest contentful paint, affected by backend logic, and this is affected by image or JS hydration. So this is basically this parameter is used for the images or video which you are used in your application. API response time, which is, as we all know that in XP it is REST and here in XM it is GraphQL. So here higher in case of XP due to heavy payloads and synchronous rendering. In XM Cloud, which is lower due to the decoupled front end, and because, or rather you can say the architecture, decoupled front end caching and CDN delivery. So throughput and concurrency, which is lower in case of XP due to it is bounded by app server and SQL instances. And here in case of XM Cloud, it is higher due to scalable. So as you can see, the all parameters which is in XM Clouds are very prominenting. So that is the reason in case of XM Cloud, we are getting the good performance compared to XP. So because of this, like we have good response time, we have throughput is more compared to XP. So these are the parameters which are winning in XP versus XM Cloud. Moving to the security testing. So in security testing, those who has little bit idea on security testing can be done on two parts. One is on application or web application level, and the second is on the network level. So I have covered whatever the parameters which are differed in terms of both the levels. So like first is hosting infrastructure. So XP has self-managed or rather on-premises hosting, or here in case of XP, we used to validate the server hardening, firewalls, and SSL setups. In case of XP, XM Cloud, we used to like it is fully managed by the Sitecore because it is SaaS or PaaS infrastructure, and here we validate the CDN configs and API exposure. In case of XP patch and upgrade validation, so here in XP Sitecore updates, OS patch is applied manually by the DevOps or the developer team. So in case of XM Cloud, it automatically managed via Sitecore, so it auto updates their environments. But in both the cases, we have to do the regression testing post the upgradation. In case of XP, we have APIs is REST based via versus GraphQL. So here in case of XP, we have to validate the token uh, course or token or header checks. And in case of XM Cloud, we used to verify the schema visibility of the GraphQL, field level access, query complexity, restriction, and etc. Uh, Fourth point, I think you all have heard about the penetration testing and the security focus area. So in case of XPs, it is controlled environment. So your environment is controlled within your organization level or ecosystem. So the scope is entire your application. Here affected areas are infrastructure, network, web application, even entire site code platform. So the focus area in case of XPs are SQL injections, broker authentication, XSS, CSRF. These are the terminologies. If I'm going to such detail, that would take more than hours to explain each and every stuff. But these are the sake of understanding. I've just taken out the bulleted point information. And the misconfiguration. In case of XM Cloud, the scope is limited because it is totally managed by Sitecore and limited to front end and APIs. The abuses happen on the XM Cloud level are GraphQL, broken access control, API exposure, and the front end JS leaks. So in a case of sensitive data exposure, uh, user data configs may leak via responses, logs, or errors. While in case of XM Cloud, Sitecore handles the encryption. But in case of if you have third-party integration, in case of you might have chances of exposing of data. So this difference implies that either you need to do the testing from manual level or do the or use the tools. So it is recommended to do the security testing via tools because it has to be each security tool has some parameters on which parameter they are testing. For example, some tools uses the on detail level testing on penetration as well as the API endpoint. So people or company has used to buy such tool and do the security testing because manually it is hard to test with different parameters. But that is not a case that is not achievable. But all like companies are the most preferable part in case of security testing is the tools. So they use tool to do the security testing, not the manual option. Any questions till now? Okay. So this is the implication of. Okay, sorry.
There are a few questions in chat window. If
Okay.
you want to answer right now, or you can take it during Q&A session as well.
Yeah, sure. We'll do it in Q&A session.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. Implication of testing in composable architecture. So as this is composable architecture in XM Cloud, so if we compare the XP versus XM, like in XP, it is monolithic. It integrates with analytics, search, forms, Sitecore commerce uh, with some connectors, personalizations with X Connect and the XDB profiles, and Content Hub. We can also connect with Content Hub via connectors. So this in the XP integrates with these applications. Here the testing scope is internal because your entire features or most of the things lives within the same ecosystem. It enables the consolidated integration testing and the regression and the overall impact analysis in case of XP is more predictable because we have centralized code base available. While in case of XM Cloud, it is cloud native, headless, and composable. It integrates with Content Hub, CDP, Personalize, Order Cloud, Sitecore Search, Discover, Sends, and many more like Sitecore Stream, and maybe some new are also coming. So to as XM Cloud is integrates with such application or rather mini products with that. So here in case of XM Cloud, this testing scope is complex because it integrates with all Sitecore applications or products. So you need to suppose my application is integrates with CDP, Personalize, and XM Cloud. So I need to have understanding of CDP and personalization. Then and then I could test the entire scenario or other end-to-end scenario. Otherwise, I need to be stuck and anywhere if I'm not having the idea of CDP or personalize. So those kind of things is happening here. So in case of regression and impact analysis, like you need to do the in-depth regression across the integration because you have many products which can be integrated with the XM clouds. So any update to the component or service could cascade through the component stack. So if I think you all have heard that if something is being deployed on XM cloud, overall whatever the projects which are using the XM cloud is being broken because they are delivering the things on common platform, not at XP or like the way we used to do in XP. We are upgrading or doing the operations and where our internal or on-premise level. While in case of XM Cloud, this is delivered via global level, so it impacts the overall infrastructure as well. Yeah. Next is the test data management in composable setup. So in XP, if you have all have heard that in XP we have master database, web database, and core database. While in case of XM Cloud, we used to have master core, but we have the edge data. The web database is replaced with edge database, which is very controlled database. Like uh, in when I used to work in one of the XP project, when my content which I have published from master database, which was not appearing on web database, what I used to do is I used to go into the web database, verify that whatever the content which I have entered in the master is not available in web. So that is the reason I came to know that. So proper debugging is possible in case of XP, but in case of XM Cloud, that is not possible because the edge database is controlled database. You cannot directly access that database. Even if you have integrates with CDP, Personalize, or maybe other application via UI or APIs, that DB access is also not possible in case of XM Cloud. So kind of a controlled environment, while XP is kind of a very open environment. You can go and update the content based on your need. In case of XP, you can create the test data via SQL or PowerShell scripts. While in case of XM Cloud, you can create the test data via APIs, SDKs, or serialize content via AML or as JSON. Here in XP, the maintenance is customer responsibility because the environment is on premises. While in case of XM Cloud, it is maintenance is fully managed by Sitecore because this is globally managed from Sitecore. So if your application is being crashed from the XM Cloud level, you need not to have other option until you wait until the problem is solved from Sitecore level. But in case of XP, it is manageable because you have controlled environment. So yeah, this is how the test data is being managed in case of uh, the XP versus XM. So till now, I think we have talked about the goody things about XP and XM Cloud things because every way XM Cloud is winning over the XPs except couple of things. Otherwise, XM Cloud is winning. But is as the things are good from overall level, but it has some risk or limitation. So those things which I'm going to cover here. So like in case of what are the risk areas in XM Cloud? So just a minute, I'm having water. So the risk area which are covered in XM Cloud, first is migration testing, which suppose you have uh, XP environment available with you, and if you want to move from XP to XM, so these are the points which you have to take care while migrating. So like the data loss or transformation errors. So like content, media, or templates should not be lost when you do the migration testing, when you do the migration, your layouts or component mapping. So presentation detail not migrated to headless. So unsupported feature like XConnect, forms, analytics are not available. So now in recent I think in recent implementation, which I have heard that now XM Cloud had implemented the forms. So now this can be replaced. So forms is now available in XP as well as in XM Cloud both. The broken links and redirects, you have to look into that as well. So proper uh, redirects has to be tested. You need to test the proper authoring workflows and disruption. So you need to verify that properly things are once the things are migrated from XP to XM, all things like workflows and authoring workflow should be properly configured and should be seen to the user. Version history or audit trail lost. So if you have not migrated the content carefully, your versioning or data might be missing. So this is a kind of high level information which I categorize here. If I want to take a session of doing the migration testing from XP to XM, that is also possible. So in 1 hour session, but I have just covered the gist or the superficial things here. The second point is about the query failure, schema drift, or performance issue because of the GraphQL and Edge delivering APIs. Third is having the schema mismatch between the backend and frontend due to the decoupled architecture. Personalization and variants. So broken condition or fallback not rendering as per the expectation. So you need to do the proper personalization testing. You need to you need to verify the schema in case of the in comparison with the architecture, and you have to do the proper localization testing, because if you have something on XP, but if you are not properly migrate the content, the localization will miss some data or lost some data. So you need to test those missing translation, fallback issues, and multi-region setups. And the last one is media and CDN. So kind of if you have content hub integrated, that is a separate story. But if you are using the XP and you have in build, and like if you are using the XM Cloud media module, then in case of that, you might have stale media, broken URLs, or due to broken media URLs, or due to CDN caching. So this kind of risk can be associated with XM Cloud. So you need to give proper time or do the proper testing in terms of using such modules like personalization. Proper migration testing has to be done, proper localization and fallback testing has to be done, and proper media and CDN testing has to be done to mitigate such kind of risk. So these are the common pitfalls of using the XM clouds. So first is no built-in analytics or XDB. So you need to rely on Google Analytics and CDP to gather the data. Skill set shift, as we all are hearing that the XM Cloud has shifted their development focus from .NET or MVC to JavaScript, Next.js, TypeScript, and modern DevOps. So that requires some extra time to shift the teams from backend to front end. Higher long-term cost potential. So in XM Cloud, it requires SaaS subscription model, which can lead to a higher ongoing cost, especially if you are integrating with composable product like the personalized CDP or maybe other product. In case of XP, it is providing the upfront licensing and maintenance, but you have to be bear with whatever the functionality which XP provides. In case of XM Cloud, you'll get the more functionalities. No built-in marketing or automation, marketing automation or email. So XP has robust marketing automation and email capabilities, while in case of XM Cloud, there is no built-in email facility. You need to either use Sitecore Send to do the functionalities, or maybe marketing tool to do the integration. In case of personalization rule limitation, so XM Cloud has session-based and less sophisticated personalization if you are using the inbuilt personalization, but if you are using Sitecore Personalize, you can do the uh, complex personalization. While in case of XP, multi-session tracking via XDB and Connect, so even more granular level personalization can be achieved in XP. Dependency on external front-end hosting, like in XM, you have to use separate services like Vercel, Netlify, or for front-end hosting and rendering. While in case of XP, it is all in one approach, so no separate licensing or costing for Vercel, like Vercel in Netlify in XM Cloud. So that is one all-in-one approach. In the preview mode limitations, so in case of this is less real-time preview faithfulness compared to XP's experience editor. So XP XM has like less faithfulness compared to XP in XM Cloud. So XP's preview mechanism previews are little good compared to XM Cloud. So those are the common pitfalls of having XM Cloud. So these are the tools which we use to use in XP versus XM Cloud. So for automation testing, we use Selenium, Cypress, and Playwright. While in case of performance testing, we use JMeter, Lighthouse, and I think one other thing I think I want was a load preview. Security testing, we use OWASP, ZAP, and Burpsuit. And for API testing, as entire XM Cloud is runs through GraphQL and API, so we need to do the API testing via Postman, Newman, and K6. So these are the most commonly or widely used tool in the markets. But if you have a different tool provided by company, you can use such tools. So QS takeaway throughout this session. So so whatever the testing which I covered throughout the in slides, so this is the common slide which explain everything. So as far as the UI and functional testing is concerned, no major changes, but UI validation and minor changes due to the architecture level changes. In terms of CMS testing, you need to learn or you need to train yourself compared to Experience Editor versus Pages. You need to understand that. You need to understand the Sitecore products like CDP, Order Cloud, Personalize, Sitecore Send, Sitecore Stream, etc. And if you want to do the complex integration testing, you need to understand the such tool and then do the right complex test cases and do the system testing from end to end. You do not ignore the non-functional testing like security, personalization, security, performance testing, device testing, accessibility testing. You should not ignore such testing because those are key testing when you are doing from XP to XM. So you need to focus on those. Next is testing must be API first, as I already mentioned a couple of times that it uses the layout services and GraphQL. So now it is API oriented. So you need to have no basic knowledge of API to do the testing on XM Cloud. Next is embrace the modern tooling and automation. So you need to like as we use Selenium for automation, but there are tools like Playwright and Cypress in the market. We used to use those such tools as per the market standard and do explore such tools and do the best out of it and then use such tools. And the next is about preparing test strategies when you're doing the migration from XP to XM Cloud, because migration is very complex in terms of XP to XM Clouds. You need to have a proper strategy and proper mechanism to do that. So you need to follow the checklist to do the migration, then and then you can achieve something. Otherwise, you'll be definitely going to lose something if you are not taking the follow the the checklist. So you need to follow such things. So yeah, so that is all about the entire session. I think let me move to this question. I think which Kushbu mentioned about the chat section. So Kushbu, I'm moving to chat sections to looking into the questions.
Yep. There are two questions.
Okay, I don't know. My screen is frozen, but okay. First is okay. Question from okay. Can we automate component validation feature in XM Cloud for regression testing? I believe XM Cloud uses MFA for authentication. Is there any way to bypass the MFA and automation component? So I think this question is more towards the mm, cloud for regression. I believe the okay, for authentication, I think that requires a security testing stuff. But yeah, uh, that I think, Bhuvesh, I do not have such a detailed knowledge on that particular front. But in case of uh, the regression testing of component, that is possible via Selenium or even Playwright or maybe Cypress. So that is possible. And I can even get back to you after looking into or discuss with other team. But yeah, and the second question which I could see is from Ritesh is how is the API integration testing done in XM Cloud? Uh, do we use third-party tool like Postman? So yeah, in case of that, yeah. So I did the integration testing in one of the project where Order Cloud was integrated with XM Cloud. We used to access such APIs if those APIs are open. You can access such API then do the manipulation or rather crude operations like create, update, delete, and operations on those APIs. And once you do the manipulation on API, you will see the impact on your actual website, which you have integrates with Epson Cloud. So yeah, that is possible with Postman. So yeah, thank you for the questions. Any other questions? Runtime. Okay, considering as no, and thank you for the joining team. Thanks.
Thank you, Jignesh.
Thank
Thank you all
you.
for
Thank you.
joining.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.